Last time, the story was that Romania helped cage Putin's army in Transnistria. This time, the story is bigger and, honestly, more dangerous for Moscow. Because once a Russian garrison is trapped, the next question is obvious. What comes after the cage? In March 2026, Chisinau effectively put its answer on paper in Brussels. Not a tank column, not a blitz, a reintegration plan. A legal, economic, and international roadmap for absorbing Transnistria back into a Moldova that is moving into the European Union with Romania at its back. And that is the real shock here. Russia built Transnistria as a frozen conflict. Moldova is now treating it like a solvable administrative problem. By the end of this video, you'll see why this is not just another diplomatic memo. It is the first serious reintegration roadmap since the failed Russian-backed 2003 Kozak formula. And it appears at exactly the moment when Russia's leverage in the region is weaker. Ukraine has shut the old supply routes, and the EU-Romania axis around Moldova is stronger than at any point since the Soviet collapse. To understand why this matters, zoom out to the map. Transnistria is not some enormous breakaway state with strategic depth. It is a narrow strip pressed between the rest of Moldova and Ukraine. Russia still has roughly 1,500 troops there, according to Reuters and repeated EU and OSCE language about Russian military personnel and ammunition on Moldovan territory. But the crucial point is not just that the troops are there, it is that they are isolated. Ukraine sits on one side, Moldova sits on the other, and behind Moldova sits Romania, an EU and NATO member that has become the strategic rear area for Moldovan energy, trade, and political resilience. That is why the old frozen conflict formula is breaking down. Frozen conflicts work when the patron can still feed, fund, and intimidate. They work a lot less well when the enclave is physically cut off, when the surrounding state is moving into the EU, and when the neighboring NATO-EU power is openly committed to that state's survival and integration. This is where the old Russian foothold stops looking permanent and starts looking stranded.
And now look at what Chisinau actually brought to Brussels.
The document says reintegration is to happen exclusively by peaceful means. It makes full demilitarization and democratization prerequisites. It calls for an international civilian mission or administration to oversee security, with powers gradually handed to Moldova's central government after disarmament. It proposes unified fiscal, customs, and trade rules on both banks of the Dniester. It proposes a special convergence fund financed by national and international contributions. It proposes guarantees for residents, including citizenship rights and amnesty for officials not implicated in human rights violations. And maybe most important of all, it explicitly ties reunification to Moldova's European integration path, even allowing for a temporary suspension of EU law on the left bank during formal accession, if that is what the mechanics require. That is not the language of a country improvising. That is the language of a state trying to make reintegration legible to Brussels. That is where the Romania-EU endgame comes in. Start with demilitarization and the international civilian mission. On paper, that sounds tidy. In reality, it would have sounded absurd just a few years ago. Why? Because any serious demilitarization plan depends on one brutal fact first. Russia must be unable to reinforce the enclave. And after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, that condition changed radically. Kyiv closed the land bridge fantasy. The old gas transit architecture that helped sustain Russian influence around the enclave also broke down when Ukraine refused to renew the Russian gas transit deal that expired at the start of 2025, triggering a major crisis inside Transnistria itself. The Russian force is still there, but it is no longer sitting inside a permissive geopolitical corridor. It is sitting inside a pocket. That makes an international civilian mission thinkable in a way it was not before. Not because Moscow has suddenly become cooperative, but because the neighborhood is no longer Russia's neighborhood. It is increasingly shaped by Moldova, Ukraine, the EU, and Romania.
And Romania matters here more than people realize. Not because Romanian troops are marching anywhere, they are not. Romania matters because it changes the geometry of power without firing a shot. Bucharest is Moldova's strategic priority in Romanian foreign policy. Romanian and Moldovan energy systems are increasingly intertwined. Moldova's own officials have said Romania became the pillar of Moldovan energy security.
while Moldovan ministries have documented new power interconnections with Romania and EU-backed financing for those links. That sounds technical. It is actually political dynamite. Because when electricity, customs, roads, ports, regulations, and finance all start bending westward, Transnistria's room to remain a functional Russian satellite shrinks. The Russian narrative says the enclave is a separate world. The infrastructure story says the opposite. It says the space around it is being reorganized around Romanian and European systems. And once that happens, demilitarization is no longer an isolated security question. It becomes part of a much larger transfer of gravity. Then comes the second pillar, economic reintegration and the convergence fund. This is where the whole thing stops looking like a ceasefire paper and starts looking like a method of absorption. Unified fiscal, customs, and trade rules are not glamorous. They are not cinematic. But they are how states actually expand control. Russia's preferred model for Transnistria was always political leverage first, ambiguity forever. The Moldovan document flips that logic. It says, standardize the rules, build a fund, align incentives, and drag the left bank into one legal economic space. That is classic European statecraft. Romania already lives inside that system. Brussels finances convergence for weaker regions as a matter of routine. Moldova has already entered accession negotiations with the EU, and the EU approved a €1.9 billion growth plan for 2025 to 2027 to support reforms and economic growth on Moldova's path into the Union. So when Chișinău talks about a convergence fund for Transnistria, it is not speaking in fantasy terms. It is speaking in the grammar of how the EU actually works. This is not an artillery solution. This is a customs union, budget discipline, social guarantees, and infrastructure solution. It is boring on purpose. That is why it is dangerous. Boring systems are how you erase separatist exceptionalism.
Frozen conflicts survive on fear. Fear of revenge, fear of purges, fear that the day after reintegration the losing side gets crushed. Chișinău knows that, which is why the guarantees section matters so much. Citizenship rights, amnesty for officials not involved in human rights abuses, a promise that social benefits after reunification should not fall below pre-reintegration levels. This is not softness, this is operational design. Moldova is trying to separate ordinary residents and mid-level functionaries from the hardcore of the separatist security apparatus. In plain English, it is offering a softer landing to the population while narrowing the battlefield to those most tied to coercion and criminality. That is how you dismantle a frozen conflict without triggering mass panic. It is also how you make an international administration plausible, because international overseers can sell safeguards more credibly than either side alone. Remember that, because it is the part Moscow hates most, a reintegration script in which Russian protection is no longer the only insurance policy available to people on the left bank. If you're getting value from this breakdown, subscribe now, because this is exactly the kind of story that looks tiny on a map and massive in strategic effect. And the next part is where the quiet paperwork becomes a geopolitical sledgehammer.
The third pillar is the EU path itself. The document does something extremely revealing. It syncs reunification with accession, and even leaves room for EU law to be temporarily suspended on the left bank during formal accession. That clause sounds obscure, but it is arguably the loudest sentence in the entire plan. Why? Because it tells you Brussels is no longer some distant audience. Brussels is part of the operating environment. Moldova's accession negotiations formally opened in June 2024. The Commission said in November 2025 that Moldova had met the conditions to open several accession clusters and expected movement on the remaining ones. The EU and Moldova then elevated ties further at their first summit in July 2025, where leaders reaffirmed support for Moldova's sovereignty and explicitly called for the withdrawal of Russian military personnel and ammunition from Transnistria. So when the reintegration plan builds in EU law flexibility, it is acknowledging reality. Any durable settlement now has to fit the machinery of enlargement. That means Moscow is no longer negotiating against a fragile post-Soviet state alone. It is negotiating against a process that is increasingly backed by EU institutions, EU money, and a Romanian state whose own strategic doctrine openly treats Moldova as a priority. And this is why the sequel angle works so well. The last chapter was about confinement. Romania, Ukraine, and Moldova helped create conditions in which Putin's outpost in Transnistria could no longer function as a normal forward lever. This chapter is about conversion, turning a cage into a chamber for slow motion absorption. Not annexation by force, absorption by rules, by funding, by legal sequencing, by international supervision, and by the fact that the enclave's external environment is being Europeanized faster than Moscow can reverse. The contrast with 2003 is brutal. Back then, the best-known settlement concept associated with Moscow was the Kozak Memorandum, an asymmetric federalization idea that would have entrenched Russian leverage inside Moldova's constitutional structure. Now, the paper coming out of Chisinau heads in the opposite direction. It does not constitutionalize Russian power. It conditions reintegration on demilitarization, international oversight, and alignment with the EU track. One model would have locked Moldova into permanent veto points. The other tries to dissolve the very conditions that made the enclave strategically useful to Russia in the first place.
Now, does that mean Transnistria is about to vanish next month? No. Moscow can still obstruct. The local elite can still resist. Russia still has troops and ammunition there, and frozen conflicts have a nasty habit of surviving longer than logic says they should. But the balance of leverage has changed, and that is the point. Russia's regional position is weaker because Ukraine shut the main military and energy corridors that once cushioned Transnistria. Moldova's position is stronger because it is on an active EU accession path, backed by major financial support. Romania's position is stronger because it is not merely a sympathetic neighbor anymore. It is the EU-NATO anchor through which much of Moldova's resilience now runs. So the question is no longer whether Transnistria can be preserved indefinitely as a Russian pressure point. The question is whether Moscow can stop the surrounding space from being standardized around European rules faster than the enclave can adapt. And that is a much uglier question for the Kremlin, because it cannot be solved with one speech, one gas cut, or one parade of peacekeepers. Put differently, this is where the land bridge fantasy died and the paperwork war began. Maps matter. Logistics matter. Doctrine matters. But in this case, forms, funds, customs codes, interconnectors, and accession clauses may matter just as much. Because once you strip away the slogans, reintegration is really a contest over which system people will live under, which salaries and pensions they will trust, which electricity grid they will depend on, which courts they will fear less, and which passport will open the future. Russia used to answer those questions in Transnistria by default. Chisinau is now trying to answer them with Brussels and Bucharest behind it. That is not dramatic in the Hollywood sense. It is dramatic in the statecraft sense. It is what an endgame looks like when one side has lost the ability to move freely, but the other side still refuses to launch a war. And that is why this new plan matters so much. It is not just a peace gesture, it is a declaration that Moldova believes the frozen conflict can be dismantled by sequencing, not storming, by making Russian military presence untenable, making economic divergence expensive, making legal reintegration intelligible to Brussels, and making ordinary people on the left bank think the safer future may now run west. The world is moving, even when the front line looks static. In Transnistria, the movement is not a column of armor. It is a slow tightening of borders, budgets, grids, and institutions around a Russian outpost that was designed to be permanent. In the last video, Romania helped cage Putin's army. This video, Moldova walks into Brussels with a plan to make that cage the first stage of peaceful absorption under EU and Romanian protection. And for Moscow, that may be the most dangerous kind of defeat of all, the kind that arrives stamped, signed, funded, and filed.